And they tried to do the same thing with Hillary Clinton. Oh, it's a woman. It's our first female president and blah, 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 blah. And they tried to take the whole populist approach, which is why they probably doubled down on her and squashed Bernie Sanders. Because
didn't work.
They didn't need another old white man to be president anymore, right?
Yeah, the whole, I feel like the word democracy has been, talk about narratives, pounded into the pavement so hard that it doesn't mean anything anymore.
And people don't, I mean, it's amazing how little people understand what democracy really is.
How do you define what it really is?
So democracy is supposed to be the freedom of determination by the people themselves. And that can look a lot of different ways. It can look like each individual has a vote in what happens next. It can look like representative democracy, where we vote for representatives who have a decision on what we do next. There's lots of different ways that democracy can look. But essentially, at its core, it's the right of individuals to have a say in their own future, their own self-determination. That's something that we have that autocratic countries do not have.
Yeah, and and in some ways, I don't even believe in that, because the money behind all of it, no matter where you are, is usually what drives it. Like I can't say that's not the case here. So I mean, look at the money that piles in on both sides of these campaigns.
Oh, for sure. But in you know, this is one of the things that's troubling about the upcoming election, right? Kamala Harris has never won a primary.
Yeah. Never had a vote in one.
The American people have never raised their hand and said, we want Kamala Harris.
That's right.
It's never happened. She was appointed after she was put on the ticket with Joe Biden by the Democratic National Convention as their chosen pair. So now she's running for president with nobody having ever put her in the position where she should even be able to run for president. Think about all the qualified candidates out there who tried just on the Democratic side, who tried to get to that spot where they could even have a chance to debate, and they were never allowed because Biden chose to have no debates.
Yeah.
Right? Like we are sitting on the precipice of potentially electing someone into office who has never hit any of the pre-qualifications to become someone who runs for the presidency. Yeah. It's just a person passed their endorsement, a party represented them. And even since that endorsement for Kamala Harris, all the support that you've seen come through, it's all political support. It's all other senators and Congress people giving in their endorsement and PAC money coming in and delegates coming in. That's all political. None of that is human American, driver's license carrying citizens voting for Kamala Harris. That has not happened at all yet. And people, depending on the outcome of the DRC or the DNC, depending on the outcome of the National Convention, Americans may not have a choice to do anything other than vote for Trump or vote for Kamala Harris, unless they want to vote some other
that's
third
exactly
party.
what it's going to be. You're 100% right.
I need to give a huge shout out to my man, Marcus Winsness from Sweden. He is the reason this episode happened. Why, you ask? Well, when we finished recording this, for some reason, the video files were corrupted. I then spent the next 24 hours running around town, talking to everyone I could on the internet, trying to fix them to no avail before Marcus came in and spent the entire middle of the night Saturday somehow uncorrupting them, and voila, here we are. So thank you so much to Marcus. Number 2, my man Tommy G is going to be dropping a documentary on the Trump assassination. He went out to Butler, PA, and I was able to send him Danny Hall and Andy Bustamante to give different takes on the assassination at the site, and it's going to be really good stuff. So make sure you go subscribe to Tommy's channel to find out when the video drops.
And it's like, I've joked before that the RNC is like organized stupidity and the DNC is like organized corruption, and they're just good at it. And look at the last 3 election cycles, 2016, 2020, 24. You just described what happened in 24. Someone has never had a vote casted for them suddenly is like, yep, we're all behind her. 2020, the pandemic hits, before the pandemic sent us inside, on almost the same day, every candidate dropped out and endorsed Joe Biden to put him over the top of Bernie. And then in 2016, there is a very reasonable argument to say that Bernie Sanders, who tapped into a very populist sentiment that year, legit may have beaten Hillary Clinton. And we've seen the leaked emails and stuff and how they put her in there.
Yep.
And I got news for you. I'm not saying this would have been a good thing. I think Bernie versus Trump would have been a tough election. But like Bernie probably would have won that election.
It would have been tough.
Just because he was like a little, like he was actually likable as a person. Hillary Clinton was not likable.
Yeah.
And that's what had Donald Trump put over the top of her. And it's like, so you've now, over the last 8 years, told your voters to go fuck off while at the same time making your tagline on all these different networks like, we have to protect democracy. Like, respectfully, shut the fuck up with your democracy if you're not going to do it yourself.
Yeah, and it's funny because as much as you hear left-leaning media talk about populism, that's exactly what they're tapping into. Barack Obama was a populist leader. He was a popular person. All the he had books out. Like his whole tagline was hope. Like that is a very populist approach. Nobody was focused on Barack Obama's policies. They were focused on African American, first-time president, young guy.
I see what you're saying.
All of that was populism, right? It was a movement more than it was about the job.
Right.
And they tried to do the same thing with Hillary Clinton. Oh, it's a woman. It's our first female president and blah, 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 blah. And they tried to take the whole populist approach, which is why they probably doubled down on her and squashed Bernie Sanders. Because
didn't work.
They didn't need another old white man to be president anymore, right? But look what's happening right now.
Yeah.
Right now, it's just, I will call it out. You have a minority who is both African American and of South Asian descent, Indian, right? Mm-hmm. The two largest growing population bases in the United States. She's also female, and she's married to someone who's Jewish. So you've got like all the major minority pieces
checked off, baby.
Boom. Tell me that is not exactly how the Democratic Party has worked now for almost a decade. It's all about finding some social justification for diversity and having diversity represent the United States instead of having democracy represent the United States. I'm not saying I want another old white man in office either.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, can we please have a conversation about who's the best candidate?
Yes.
Instead of, we need a woman. We need somebody of Indian descent. We need somebody of African American descent. We need somebody young. We need somebody female. We need somebody who's married internationally. Like, come on, let's just compare apples to apples.
Agreed.
Instead of trying to sell strawberries and trying to sell oranges.
I don't understand it because there are so many political points on which the Democrats, if they just focused on policy, could beat the Republicans in a tete-a-tete. What policy you think networks better over the population? They could do that, but they keep tripling down on this it's exhausting.
Yeah.
Identity politics shit. No one gives a fuck anymore, man.
Unfortunately, they do. And that's the thing. That's the big problem. The big problem is winning the presidency is all about motivating people to get out of their bed and stand in a line and put a mark on a checklist once every 4 years. That's the race. That's the presidential race. It's sad, but it's true. And for anybody out there, you included, how hard is it to motivate the average YouTube viewer to click on a like or click on the subscribe button or leave a comment?
You go do that right now. You understand me? Thank you.
It's hard. It's hard, right? If you have 2% of your user base that clicks on a like button, that's really good.
Yeah. Well, you need higher than 2%.
You need higher than 2%, but if you get 2%, like between 2 and 5%, or is it like 10% is top tier.
Yes.
1 out of every 10 viewers clicks on a button in YouTube.
Yeah.
Like that's the race for president, is how many people are going to click on the like button once every 4 years. When clicking on the like button means getting out of bed, stepping away from work, driving to a poll station, standing in line. Sometimes you're standing in the freezing freaking cold, right? To fill out a form where you're like in a giant whatever warehouse or school, whatever auditorium.
Right.
It's a big ask, which is why you see at most 60% voter turnout. That what moves people to do that is what you just said, personality politics. What moves people to do that is not the promise of peace in the Middle East.
That's fair. I will agree. Like, people vote on the 1, 2, maybe 3 issues. That's pushing it, that they actually give a fuck about, right? And that could be a totally made up thing that none of us here are even paying attention to. And that's just the reality. I understand that. And I shouldn't say the word like nobody or nobody cares. Like, that's an exaggeration. That's fair. The better way to put it, though, is that if 4 years ago, 8 years ago, X% of society really gave a fuck about that at the forefront, I'm saying right now, if you read the temperature, it's a lot lower than X was, because there are more people, even if they're still not informed on certain things. Because again, people got lives, right? Like, you might be a father of 3 and you and your wife are both working 9 to 5 jobs, trying to spend time with your family too. I don't expect you to understand all the issues here. I'm a realist about that. But like, there's enough people who just keep hearing this messaging in the background. They're like, what the fuck? And they're looking around their office and they're looking around their friends and they're like, damn, I never even thought about this shit 10 years ago. Like, what happened here?
Yeah.
And they're finally like, enough.
Yeah.
And so when I see them, like you said, just give a good candidate. I don't care. Do it blind, so you don't know who they are, right? Like I've often,
like the old dating shows.
Exactly. I've often joked, if you looked at Kamala Harris's prosecution record in California, and you went to the deepest, darkest, most racist part of Alabama, and you got a rally together of people right there, obviously, like, I guess, like far right individuals, if you will, and you didn't say what she looked like or what her name was, and you read off her resume, you'd have a lot of dudes going, fuck yeah! And then she'd walk out and they'd be like, all right, we'll get with it. But she's at the forefront of this progressive policy now because, like you said, I agree with you. She's being told what to do, and she checks those boxes.
She checks those boxes, man. She checks those boxes. There was something you said that inspired a thought, but I lost it.
Don't you hate when that
I
happens?
do hate it when that, especially like on camera. It's frustrating because you're like, I had something that was going to be really sharp and entertaining, and now I just look stupid.
Thank you for watching the video, guys. If you haven't already subscribed, please smash that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here or in the description below.